Reddit/No Sleep. The Mysterious Disappearances of My Town. By Generic Eat. Our town has a shortage, more specifically a shortage of children. No one knows why they keep disappearing. Our law enforcement has been stumped as more and more children disappear. None of the remaining kids are allowed to go outside anymore for fear that they might be taken as well. A rumor that is currently circulating around town is that all of the disappearances happen around the forest that is near our town. Our forest does have a reputation, and not just because of the disappearance of children, but because it is renowned for all disappearances of anything living, dead, or non-organic things. 2 months ago, a robber by the name of Joel Hobbles was caught in the woods after looting a nearby convenience store 9 hours ago. Joel's a psychopath. I'm just a mean guy to begin with. His rap sheet consists of armed robbery, possession of drugs, rape, etc. Joel is just not the guy you want to mess with. That was what confused everyone in town the next day, when Joel surrendered to the police officers without much of a fight even. Joel was found to have 2 pistols and 3 assault rifles, meaning that he could have easily gunned down the 3 policemen. The police were confused as well with how Joel behaved. A usually erratic and hot-headed person, Joel was quiet and crying as he was being arrested. When asked by the police for the motive of the robbery, Joel couldn't speak. It is said that Joel broke down and started screaming and hollering to be let out. Joel was quoted saying, "They hide in the brown, they hide in the brown, they hide in the brown." It was like Joel's sanity had simply disappeared after he came out of that forest. This follows the next incident that just gives me the shivers. 2 weeks ago, Joel plus 3 people and an ambulance disappeared in those accursed woods. They were transporting him to a mental facility where he would stay for the rest of his life because of how his mind was so messed up after the arrest. There are a few roads connecting one of the big cities to our little town. The shortest and easiest road to take to get to the nearest big city was through the Unknown Road. Literally, it is called Unknown Road. First off, no one could figure out a name for that road for whatever reason. I personally recommended Main Road as one of the names, and also, anyone seems to take that road seems to go off into nowhere and makes them have an unknown destination. Unknown Road is also one of the roads that border the woods. Yes, the very woods Joel surrendered in and the very ones that destroyed his soul. Apparently, the ambulance was driving along with Joel in it at a moderate speed. Joel at the time was supposedly sedated, so the journey could be as smooth as possible. A trail cam, I think, captured what were the last moments Joel Hobbles and the ambulance crew were ever seen alive. The footage was dark and really grainy, but you could make out the uneven shadows on the side of the road as trees and the grey path between them the road. The ambulance comes into view in the cam, a large metal box cruising along the road, and then abruptly stops. That's what the townsfolk said about the recording, that the ambulance stopped. They say once taking a closer look, you could see a brown tint in front of the ambulance. Investigating even more revealed that these shapes had a humanoid outline to them. After stopping, you could see the back door of the ambulance swinging open. The strangest thing is that no one steps out of the vehicle at all during this recording. It seemed like time at that moment was frozen in that recording. Then, the trail cam blacks out for a moment. It was only a second, but enough for both Joel, 3 people, and the ambulance carrying them to disappear. The road was clear. No ambulance seemed to have ever been there at all. What was left was the brownish humanoid figures. What happened next was eerie. The brown figures appeared to spread out alongside the road, seemingly hiding among the trees on the side. The brownish tint changed dramatically in the recording, like the speed at which octopuses camouflage themselves in a new environment to match the dark shadows on the side of the road. Now I'm the guy that isn't gullible to some silly rumors. I ain't that stupid, of course. You can say I am a little bit too skeptical of anything I get told. All I need is proof. Proof of whatever I saw in those camps is all I need. And this proof may have just shown itself yesterday in the most disturbing way possible. I can't sleep at night without seeing its rough bark scraping against my skin and its human face that so haunts my dreams with its hollow eyes. You see, I finally know what Joel meant when he said they hide in the brown. I know what they are and what they like to do with us humans. Remember how I said about the all children can't go outside thing? Well, some parents are just really neglectful. I forgot that child's name, so I will call him Johnny. I was driving back home from work when I noticed Johnny playing on the street. I called out to Johnny from my car to ask him to go inside. Johnny was rude and stuck his tongue out at me, making me furious. I asked where were his parents, and Johnny replied with a simple answer, away. No clue what Johnny meant. but I had to get him to safety. I told Johnny to get inside his house or I would tell his parents. Johnny was not listening at all at this point, and kept right on playing. I was willing to literally grab the child and drive him home to the house, but it would seem too creepy. I thought about calling the police, before I heard something scratch at the car window. I turned slowly to the left, to find a long branch scraping itself along my car. I realized that whatever it was had come for Johnny. No matter what, I was stuck to my seat frozen in horror. I watched one of the kidnappings unfold, the culprit being the forest. Johnny stared confused at the large branch in the air before going back to playing with his toys. The branch began creaking and moaning like some wounded animal, and split in the middle. The splitting stopped before the branch could separate, before smaller wooden twigs began sprouting out of the sides like hairs. The small twigs twisted together, forming two malformed arms on either side of the branch and two long legs completely made up of wrapped sticks. Skinny and brown, the twigs elongated into spiny fingers that wrapped themselves around poor Johnny. Johnny was lifted up into the air, encased in an entanglement of twisting branches and curling leaves. Johnny screamed and bawled in the cage, and then he spotted me sitting the car a few feet away. Johnny began screaming for my help over and over again until whatever abomination the tree thing was noticed me. Its distorted trunk of a body moved so clumsily, I thought it had a chance of falling and this might allow me to make a run for Johnny. It barely kept its footing balanced, and fully turned itself to face me. There was a face in the wooden trunk that made up this figure. A face that I could recognize from the mugshots and photos. The distinctive face of a man was bitter with the world. The face of Joel Hobbles, a man I thought I would never see again, was leering at me from the trunk of that thing. He looked happy in death, smiling a ghoulish grin at me. Where Johnny's eyes were, was two hollow holes that I could see through. I could feel myself wanting to get out of the car, to come to it, to hug it, to kiss it, to become it. It needed me, and I needed it. I could feel my emotions and thoughts being drowned inside those eyes, and I blacked out. I awoke in a sweat, still sitting in my car. I scanned the area, looking for Johnny, but there was no sign of him. I drove home that night, feeling like I was coming back from war. The nightmares I can tough out, the psychological damage I can heal with time, but seeing the face of Joel made myself believe that hell doesn't seem so bad when compared to what I have experienced. But the urge, the feeling of just raw, primal euphoria is calling for me. I want to experience it again, no matter how hard I fight it. I can feel myself just wanting to join the ones that are always near the trees. To be with them again.